So in the countryside, maybe you'll come back when you can taste the wine. Everything that's worth it, well, it takes some time. By the ocean wide.
We've got the Montvales with us today. I'm super excited to talk to you all. You have an excellent new record out, Path of Totality. It's so good. Listened to it
Thank you.
on my drive this morning. This is sort of a new project for us. Analog Algorhythm is what we're calling it. The inspiration for it is just to sharing music is love, basically. I think the world needs more love, and music spreads it a lot. And there's a vehicle for a lot of ideas and conversations that we can have with music. So, super excited to talk to you guys today. You guys started out busking, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, there is a big busking culture in Knoxville. Market Square is like the central square of downtown, and there were always people busking there. So we joined in on that pretty young.
What artists inspired you when you were channeling, when you're like, I'm gonna go out and busk and I'm gonna pretend to be like this person today?
We were big on folk punk in those years. So like playing loud and shouting was it matched up with the vibe of Market Square at that time.
What kind of folk punk records were you listening to? Like Andrew Jackson Jihad or like
Yeah, that was one of them for sure. Mischief Brew was another favorite. Defiance, Ohio is still one of my favorite bands of all time.
Are you angry? Are you searching for a better life to live? Are you waiting? Have you been waiting too long? What holds us back in that burn? Just don't culture, it's hard to hate it,
Rosa.
Yeah, Rosa was a big one because they were I think they were also a duo, lots of shouting harmonies.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's been 3 long days and the rain keeps falling to obstruct my view. I hear Georgia calling, and it ain't so easy to forget why I was home.
And then not folk punk, but there was this band in Knoxville in the early 2000s called the Everybody Fields that had these just beautiful, crazy, inventive, sad, emotive harmonies.
I had a dream where I went to your room and I cut off my hand and I let go of the bud. What were you thinking and what you just heard? I was holding your hands while you pushed the wheel forward all the way like an aeroplane. Life has the sweetest refrain.
Well, you guys have some of the best harmonies I've heard in recent music. That's one of the reasons
Thank
why
you.
I've been so attracted to your band, the harmonies that you guys have developed. Talk to me a little bit about your relationship. You guys have known each other for a long time. You've been playing music together for a long time.
Our parents were friends before we were born,
Wow.
back in Knoxville. Yeah. So we were kind of always destined to meet. But we didn't meet until we were 12 or 13. And we were both really shy, reserved kids. But we hit it off with each other immediately. And so our parents were really stoked that we were just talking to another kid. And we just kind of never stopped and started playing music together when we were 17-ish, and both went our separate ways for college and tried out some other stuff, other more respectable perhaps careers after college, but always would play music together when we came back over summers and stuff like that. And then eventually in 2019 we both ended up back in Knoxville at the same time and kind of had this series of events bring us to a shared realization that we like doing this more than we like doing anything else, and would probably regret it if we didn't see what it would be like to try to do it kind of more centrally in our lives.
Absolutely. Life's too short to leave the question hanging, and if you have the itch, you have to scratch it, and
Totally.
you can always make money.
Yeah.
Right? Like in a million different ways. Like having a real job is a thing that I've like constantly battled in my life of like I should really like get a real job. And I've now just resigned myself that I'm just a swing shift bartender slash music venue
Totally.
person, and
Same.
Yeah.
those are my people. How have your unique journeys inspired each other and influenced each other? Like Sally, when you look at Molly, how do you feel her influence on your writing, and then vice versa?
Oh,
Yeah, that's a really nice question. Yeah, I feel like we do influence each other's writing often, even when we're not co-writing. I think, yeah, one of my favorite parts of like being in creative community is being around someone who's on a creative tear. So like there was a time when Molly and I were living in a very small house slash detached garage together in Knoxville. But yeah, if I would hear her writing a song in the next room over, that would remind me how fun writing songs is. And then like I would work on something too. We grew up very similarly and then had a lot of our formative years together. So I think our parallel journeys really inform writing songs that feel cohesive together. And we live very close to each other now too.
Molly, do you have or see like music in Sally's writing that you're like, I don't really listen to that, but it still like brings me in and like you can jive with it? Like, where's the difference, I guess is the question. Like,
I think Sally's writing constantly challenges me to like go deeper within myself. Like I feel like there's like a Sally Bice power ballad on every album that we've made. And I feel like, yeah, a moment on every record where you're saying something like so personal and brave and intense and like just kind of like open in such a way that like really takes me aback when I first hear it. And I'm like, damn, I feel like I'm like just scratching the surface. And like it makes me also want to go deeper with that. I also feel like we have a really like, I feel like our shared sense of humor really comes through in our writing sometimes. Like I think I write, sometimes I'll write something like just to entertain Sally. And that feels like a really good, like workable prompt to me. Like I never get tired of like aiming for that. Like I want to surprise her.
That's a really good hack for touring with someone too. Shared sense of humor is huge.
absolutely.
Otherwise, you'd never make it.
Yeah. So one of the themes that I hear in your music is it seems like both of you have a very visual songwriting style. Like you paint pictures with your lyrics really well. And there's a lot of influence from the outdoors that I noticed. Can you talk to me a little bit about where you draw that outdoorsy influence from?
Yeah, I think we've both always been very like place-based songwriters, and I think like that's true of a lot of the people I look up to as songwriters. But yeah, for me, I've spent a lot of time farming and doing ranch work. And I think sometimes when I'm doing that kind of work, I'm too tired to really realize much creative ambition. But then, like, that time usually ends up creating the best songs for me. I just need to give it a little space to like settle in. But yeah, I think a big part of balancing for me as like a touring musician who's everywhere all the time is like leaning into nature when I do get the chance.
Yeah.
Being at Trout Lake Hall last time was great for that.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
When you're out on those adventures, like what's your soundtrack for the adventure? Do you have a record that you go to for when you're like going on the hike in the woods?
Like I don't often listen to music outside, but I have like I remember listening to Marty Robbins a lot my first drive out to Colorado and like leaning really hard into the cowboy music. My first time in the Rocky Mountains.
To the town of our free rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. The stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip. Big iron.
Another way that we tour well together is really getting on a kick with being obsessed with a few songs at a time and having those songs color a whole tour. And then hopefully we'll find new ones to rotate in our brains by the next tour.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This one we just got back from was heavily dominated by the new Kevin Morby song Javelin.
Oh yeah.
You know I have been traveling through the air and down the highway like a javelin towards this.
So there's a lot of challenges in the world right now, and it feels like it's perpetually hard to find joy. Where do you guys find your joy at?
Well, I have a puppy who I got back in November. He
What's
brings
their
me
name?
into the moment a lot. His name is Trout, actually. Um, yeah, animals really are helpful for me when when things are hard and it is difficult to find light.
Yeah, it is difficult to like remain tapped into joy right now. It's really difficult. It's like a constant daily struggle. But I think spring right now and how that's just like always comes back, is always there, is really getting me through in this moment. I think seasonality in general and just like paying attention to the cycles of the earth and being like, holy shit, it is so crazy that nature just like works together this way. And I am part of that. That helps a lot for me.
Absolutely.
As well as like being really stupid jokes, just like repeating the same 4 jokes from I Think You Should Leave to each other, just as conversation over and over again. Sometimes that really helps.
We had this motif on this past tour where we would be like talking through logistics, budgeting, and in the middle of a conversation about that, Molly was like, I'm also a little bit worried about money. And that became our joke because that's the whole thing all the time. And we're like, oh yeah, money is also a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, highlighting the absurdity of all.
It's such a strange thing that we base our lives around, right? Like having money as a foundation for existence and like the disconnect between creativeness and sharing love and inspiration, and then also being like, but I have to pay my bills, or I have to work on a ranch when I'm not grinding it out on the road, or bartending or whatever it is. Like it's such a strange modern thing. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So much
A
space.
really common theme in your songs is the kind of challenge and plight of working class Americans, and there's Runaway Horses sort of paints that picture of that struggling American experience of just trying to make those ends meet. Where do you find musical inspiration for some of those themes? Like, who do you look to when you're like, I'm feeling really down about money, I'm feeling really struggling with the ways of the world right now? Do you put a record on that like soothes the soul a little bit?
We were just listening to Adim the Artist's White Trash Revelry yesterday, and there's a song called Books and Records that specifically I find to be such good company for money terror.
We've been selling off our books and records, instruments our grandparents played. We've been
Hurry for the Riffraff, the past is still alive. That whole record is such good company for the huge scale of how scary things are right now, and especially all of them, but Buffalo, that one really gets me.
Yeah. Ogallala from that record too is like a put it on and feel all the things song for me. I used to think I was born in the wrong generation, but now I know I made it right on time to watch the world burn.
I used to think I was born into the wrong generation, but now I know I made it right on time to watch the world burn.
Yeah, that line is so powerful to me. We have plenty of inspirations who are like older than the present moment, you know, but I feel like we find ourselves like saying like pretty modern artists right now, I think, because like I wonder if it's just because like this current moment in history feels so specific and intense, and like I think, yeah, I'm really grateful to have like artists right now currently speaking to those things too.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many current new offerings that are coming out that are really just like giving words to feelings that I'm having and like struggling. And I include you all in that quite a bit of just like trying to find a direction or a feeling that can like associate with what I have inside. You know, sometimes I struggle with getting those things out of me. So having that outside influence is one of the beautiful things about music, and one of the things that I love about enjoying music and experiencing it and seeing it live all the time. So I kind of skipped over one of my joy questions and then we got dark again. But what's your when you need a dose of sunshine, what's the record you put on?
Ooh.
I feel like Tyler Childers, not that he's like all sunshine, but he's so funny and ridiculous in addition to like writing these like beautiful songs that like deeply touch you. I feel like his Can I Take My Hounds to Heaven? That's a pretty ray of sunshine album for me.
Give me that old time screaming and shouting, go up, tell it on the mountain, faith too strong to be left out and way of the trying God. I don't need the pills you take just to feel the spirit moving, brother.
And also Rusted in the Rain, most of it, like his whole song about mules. Yeah, that really works for us and in dark moments.
Yeah, I really liked Can I Take My Hounds to Heaven? Just like the three different versions of each song was such an interesting take, where it's like you get this like grand, like positive big band, and then you break it down into all these different ways. It was so interesting for me to listen to. Talk to me a little bit about the new record. Path of Totality just came out, what, like a month ago, a couple weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago.
How's it been received? Are you feeling the love for it?
Yeah, it's been really nice. It's been so heartening, how the release has gone. And we had the day after we put it out, we had a big album release show at the Woodward Theater in Cincinnati, which felt just lovely. I think usually album releases, there's so much work and anxiety and intensity around it. And this time it just like I felt that we've sort of crest into the joy of having it out there and gathering all of our people around. So yeah, it's been good. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I think it's been honestly, yeah, I think received in exactly the way I would hope it would be. It feels like people are reflecting back to us that it feels like a really good companion to the times, which is just like, that's like the best thing anybody could ever say to us, man. Just like the goal is to make music that feels like it like is a companion for right now. And yeah, people have been really saying that to us, and I felt really honored.
Well, you nailed it. So great job. How long has it been in the can?
We recorded it in like end of January, beginning of February 2025. And then Yeah, Molly wrote this like giant, bizarre, and wonderful email to send to record labels to pitch it. And she gave it to me to like look it over and edit it. And I was like, I can't find a single thing I'd change. Like I'm firing it off to Free Dirt Records, and that worked. So
She told me she did that, and it was like, oh no, really? That was pretty crazy, all that stuff I said in there. Uh,
What was the
but it's,
craziest thing in it? You have to share now.
well, I feel like we've just like leaned into it. This record was really influenced by the solar eclipse of 2024. And I do legitimately believe in like astrological magic and have seen how like all of the things that in our lives that have happened have been like symbolically described by that. And it does feel like, I don't know, we're in this like very strange pocket in history that feels like a weird portal where time doesn't really make sense. I'm glad we didn't edit that. I'm glad we've been able to talk about those things in their fullness.
yeah, there was a part of it that was like talking about taking our shadow selves on a joyride across the country. And I feel like that's really what we're always doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a strange alternative timeline. It does feel like that oftentimes where it's like where's the off ramp that we got on here, you know? How did we wind up on
Mhm.
this chain of events? And it just never
Yeah.
ceasing sometimes. So you guys talk a lot in your songs about, you know, some activist approach to things. You know, I'm thinking about like Lou, and when you guys played at the hall, you were talking about how that was inspired by one of your nieces and like wanting to give nature and outdoors to them. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, what are some of the things inspiring your writing there? Like the direct, like, this is what I want to see in the world, and I'm putting it out there in this song.
Yeah. Well, both of us grew up like in Knoxville. We were lucky to be so surrounded by community organizers who were really like working hard and working together to take care of people. Mountain Justice, I went on a retreat with them in college, and that felt like a real game changer to me to like see people dedicating so much of their lives to fighting the like giant monstrosity of coal companies and mountaintop removal. So yeah, in some ways, like I could have seen my life going in that direction more. And it's interesting to be like writing and touring so much. A lot of our contributions are like in the realm of music and like trying to create community spaces. But yeah, with Lou, I was like such an environmentalist as a kid. Yeah, my dad used to joke that I would grow up to be an eco-terrorist. And I wrote that song when my niece Renowin, I have two nieces now, but when my niece Renowin was really small. And there were just like a lot of really tough headlines about threats to public land. Things were just looking rough in a lot of different ways. And I was thinking about like the kind of world I wanted for her to grow up in. She's 8 now and is like even more of an environmentalist than I was at that age. And is she's like, I don't know why you don't live in a house that you built for yourself off the grid, and like you should be biking everywhere. So I feel like she's grown into that song really beautifully and continues to be an inspiration.
That's awesome. You know, a lot of like activist approach, often I relate it because of my experience coming from, you know, like a punk scene or a punk attitude and community. Are you guys punks?
Oh man. Yeah, I feel like I definitely used to be. I feel like I'm always trying to find my way back to my like 17-year-old self who was like, yeah, I'm a punk. That was huge for me too, for sure. And then I was in a punk band in college for a while. But yeah, the kind of ethos of like taking care of each other outside of the system. And I mean, I'm definitely an anarchist. I can say that.
Sure.
Like regardless of the kind of music I listen to these days mostly. Like I definitely believe in creating our own systems outside of this system, this grander system of Capitalism and America, both of which are like founded on slavery and genocide.
Yeah.
And I believe in, creating spaces that allow us to be our like fullest, freest selves and like explore new possibilities. Always trying to honor the 17-year-old punk within who like knew those things in a really uncomplicated way.
Yeah, one of my like personal associations with like the punk scene community was just like the DIY aspect of it, right? Like making what you want to see in the world, and like that's the like punk stripe that I feel like I carry with me. You know, I still listen to punk. I don't like put on punk shows at the mountain as much as you know, maybe I'd like to, or my 17-year-old self would like me to, but you know, building a community and really like putting forth the good things that I want out there. And, you know, I definitely see a lot of that in your music. What are some of your favorite punk records, since we're talking about sharing music?
I'll go back to Defiance, Ohio. Like just their whole discography really was super inspiring and informative to me. I don't know, it's funny. It's so like punk it has like such like a hard reputation, but like, and it's also there's songs about like, you know, blowing shit up and everything, but there's also like You Are Loved on that record Midwestern Minutes.
If I have one regret, it's letting this whole nihilistic shit charade live on. You scared the hell out of me when my friends say they have nobody to lean on.
Trying to like remind yourself and your friends over and over again that like your existence here matters and is like beautiful and unique and like necessary to the survival of everything.
Yeah.
I think I carry that with me still a lot. Defiance, Ohio's whole discography. That's my answer.
Radical love is like the most punk thing you can do, I think. You know, it's just like love everyone where they are and for who they are, and just try and share what you can with them. You know, that's all we can do, right? We can only control us and what we put out and how we receive things. So, okay, last question here for y'all. Foundational record, like what's the like grail record every time you're looking for inspiration or looking to like fill that hole in your soul? What record do you reach for and why?
Well, not to sound like a broken record, but we really the last Tyler Childers record, I was gonna say, yeah. Like I can listen to start to finish. Yeah, Snipe Hunter, like at any moment of the day, and it just takes you on such a journey.
Oh, Nita, I know that I'm younger than most, but I'm willing if you got the time.
Yeah, it takes on the world as it is right now with such defiance. Like it's just so beautiful and manages to be really joyful and crazy. Yeah, it does transport me to a different place. And we got to see Tyler Childers play a lot of those songs live at Healing Appalachia last year. And it was so special to just like see what a musician can be in their community. So that made me love that record even more. Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We went a little bit over. I apologize, but this was an awesome conversation. We're super excited to have you guys here at the Hall on June 11th with Creekbed Carter Hogan, who I'm also really excited about seeing for the first time. And, you know, if you haven't listened to Path to Totality, go listen to it and order a record.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank y'all.
Wrong place at the wrong time, moving too fast to get